Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. Do you ever have a bad day and forget people's pronouns? Because that's exactly what happened to this teacher.
So I had a kid on Monday. They said their pronouns were she, her. Then on Wednesday, yesterday, they came to me and they said, you know what? My pronouns are they, them. I want you in the class to use they, them. Okay, cool, great. They come to class today. There's names on desks in groups for assigned seats. They can't find theirs because I guess my first class knocked it off. So I go to the class. Hey, is she in anyone's group? Does anyone see her name? It took me 5 minutes to realize what I did.
Oh, whoopsie, and it took you 5 minutes to realise. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough. And what do you do when you make such a grave error of judgment?
What I did when they were sitting by themselves, I approached them and said, I screwed up, didn't I? And they said, yep.
Gee, how can you live with yourself with all that disappointment? Now to the Britney Spears level breakdowns over Trump's executive order on genders.
Our new president has declared on day one of his presidency that our country will no longer recognize any gender aside from male or female. As a non-binary person who lives in the United States of America, I'm a New Yorker. I live in New York. I'm not going anywhere. I love this city. All right. Okay. So if I'm no longer a human, legally speaking, of course, I might as well have fun. So how am I spending my day this inauguration day? I am going to go commiserate with my fellow queer people at my favorite lesbian bar, ready for the circus.
Roll up, roll up. Is that circus recruiting?
And as long as you draw a breath, every breath you take is a rebellion. Keep on fighting because you just have to. Hail Satan, hail reason always.
Love that. Absolutely love it. And can someone please check on this next person who is apparently coming to save America?
Something is throwing me off. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Blocking out all of the noise. Adrenaline give me the rush. Remembering what I was taught. I'm never down for the count. This is the fight of my life. This is the time of my life.
Okay, yeah, I've got a theory that maybe they might need some saving. And, you know, I know just the woman, actually, funnily enough, for that job. Here she is, the woke Bishop of America herself. In all her glory. She'll do it with those eyes especially. Cometh, save the dying gender crusade. And speaking of that bewildering bishop, it looks like she's found her loyal disciples in none other than the American liberal media.
Your tone there, so serious and genuine. You see him, he's stone-faced, he then looks down, but he's listening to every word you say. As you made that personal plea to him, what were you looking at him in that moment? What kind of response were you perhaps hoping for in that moment? Because it was gentle. I mean, it was intense and passionate, but yet it was gentle. It was not ugly or confrontational. Wouldn't expect it to be, but you know, these are hard things to talk about in that context.
Predictably, you seem to strike a nerve.
You seem to have more fearlessness than anyone in Congress right now, ma'am. You know, Bishop, I was struck by your tone. You were so gentle, you were so respectful, you were very demure and very mindful.
Well, look, if The View ever needs an exorcism, then they certainly know where to go. Now, have a look at this delicious demolition of a puffed-up pronoun reporter on live TV.
First day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. You know, if elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am as people who say cis man. There are people there who, they say they're gender neutral. Well, you are a man, yes. There are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here, whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two?
I'm only aware of two.
Oh, could watch Pierre on repeat every day. Joining me now is journalist and filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, thank you for joining me. Good to see you. Let's start with the left's continued meltdown over Elon Musk's gesture at the inauguration, which they are desperately insisting was a Nazi salute. But now best-selling author Gerald Posner, who has written books on Hitler Youth and the Nazi regime and is very informed on this topic, has said, quote, as non-fiction authors of books about the Third Reich and as co-founders of Anti-Semitism Watch, a non-profit that monitors anti-Jewish hate worldwide, we know real Nazi and fascist rhetoric and actions. When we watched this video clip, we thought it was nothing more than him reaching out to a large crowd in a moment of intense excitement. Ami, how much more proof does the left need that this was not a Nazi salute, and why are they so desperately pushing this narrative?
Look, with all due respect to the gentleman you just quoted, I don't need an expert on this, okay? Danica, this is so stupid that if a producer sent me this in advance saying, we're going to talk about this, I would have said, I'm not talking about it. This is so dumb. But we have to talk about it because the left, and when I say by that, the left, I mean basically the entire media has been making this into a thing. They're not arguing or discussing whether or not he made a Nazi salute. That would be dumb enough. They're saying that he did it. That's what CNN is saying. That's what the View is saying. So it is beyond ridiculous. Take a look. I think I have some skin in the game on this thing. Okay, I'm a Jewish man. I kind of know I have a pretty good Nazi radar. Okay, I know what a Nazi is and what isn't a Nazi. I've called them out. I've called them out on this show. I've called them out in my personal life and other shows. Okay. Look, I don't want to pull the, I've got Jewish friends card who know Elon, but I've got Jewish friends who know Elon. Sorry, I had to drop that. They know him well, okay? The man is not a Nazi. In fact, he's philo-Semitic. Ben Shapiro went to Auschwitz with Elon Musk, and the latter gave a speech against anti-Semitism. Now, the question is not whether or not he is a Nazi, because that's a dumb, stupid argument, okay? I'm not going to indulge in it any longer. The question is why? Why are they doing this? Well, look, like racism, Nazi is the last resort when you have nothing else to say. All your policies have clearly failed. It's the Nazi lifeboat they have to cling to as a last resort for maybe as a Hail Mary pass. We can do something to move momentum back to us. We'll attack. It didn't work with Donald Trump. He won the election. We got to move on to something else. So let's go to Elon Musk. That's what's happening here. Look, Chris Murphy was talking to Elise Stefanik in Congress. And Chris Murphy asked her, by the way, rule number one, when you are a lawyer talking, and this is obviously not a legal courtroom, but rule number one, you're a lawyer talking to a witness, similar to what we see in Congress when they're talking to witnesses. If you don't ask a question, you don't know how the person is going to answer. So when Chris Murphy asked her the question about the Nazi salute, again, not asking her, which would be dumb enough if he did it, but saying that he was doing a Nazi salute, he got demolished and steamrolled by Elise Stefanik, who, by the way, has a little bit of credibility on this because she is the poster girl when the Hamas protesters, the Hamas supporters were attacking Jews. She was the person who called out the presidents of a number of different schools, and she just ran right over him. And then you've got the other part of the left, like AOC calling this out. AOC, you won't call out Hamas, who slaughtered thousands of Jews today, and not 50 or 100 years ago. Today, they are killing and slaughtering Jews. You'll call them out. You won't call out the new neo-Nazis, but you'll call out some fake playbook about calling someone who is pro-Trump an old neo-Nazi. It's ridiculous. Sick of it. Don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's move on.
No, I totally agree. The hypocrisy is astounding. Now, all right, let's move on, Army, because finally America First is back. The Trump administration is adopting a one-flag-only policy, blocking US embassies and outposts from flying Pride and Black Lives Matter flags. Army, it's stars and stripes all the way.
again, I don't know how this is a controversy, okay, right? I don't know why this is crazy. Why are you calling out and having an issue with the American flag being the only flag you're allowed to fly? The flag, by the way, which covers justice and liberty and democracy for everyone, okay? Look, quick little anecdote, if you will indulge me, Danica, for a moment. So my coffee shop across the street from where I live, love it very much, but like most coffee shops, most baristas, very left-wing. Don't know why they end up wanting to work coffee shops, but they do. I'm sure you know about that as well. And during Pride Month, they are always actually they put the Pride flag all year long, not just during Pride Month, which is totally they're able to do that. I got no issue with that. And on Juneteenth, they actually fly the Juneteenth flag. Didn't know there was a Juneteenth flag. I learned in my coffee shop there was one. Okay, fine, go ahead and do that as well. You know what they don't fly on July 4th? On July 4th, the Day of Independence, they don't fly the American flag, okay? And when I asked them, why aren't you flying the American flag today? They said, what are you, some kind of racist? That was their response. Look, this is not just anti-Americanism, right, which it is. It's also a level of self-hatred, right? That's really what, if I want to put them on my psychologist's couch, right? I'm not a psychologist, I just play one on Sky News Australia, but that's what it is. It's self-hatred. And, I find it so despicable that the Biden administration, which of course said you can fly different kind of flags, and specifically said, right, the Biden administration specifically said to U.S. embassies, you could fly the BLM flag. The BLM flag, which is responsible for destroying over $5 billion in property across America, responsible for dozens of deaths, Danica, including police officers. But that was okay? But now we have a new president, and hey, you know what? It's moral cleanup in aisle 5, please. And that's what this president is doing.
Oh, look, absolutely, and it's about time for sure. Now, look, the Pentagon will begin deploying as many as 1,500 active duty troops to help secure the southern border in coming days, putting in motion President Donald Trump's plans to crack down on immigration, and it remains to be seen if they'll end up doing law enforcement there. But, Army, I mean, this was a mandate that Trump was elected on to crack down on immigration, so how important is it that this next administration actually succeeds in doing so?
It couldn't be more important. I mean, this is why the Trump administration won, right? It won on the economy, number one, and a close number two was immigration. When you let millions of people in this country, there's going to be a price to pay, and the price was this administration losing the election and Donald Trump winning. Let me see if you recognize this person. This quote. There's nothing else I can do within my power to secure the border. Now, you may not recognize the person. I wasn't swallowing my words, right? I wasn't dribbling from my mouth. But that's essentially what Joe Biden said when asked why you're not securing the border. It was all, obviously we now know it was all within his power because we have the next president doing it. He could have put troops at the border. He chose not to do it, right? He could have hid all he wants behind, I don't have the executive power to do it, but as we all know, he did. He could have done all the things that Trump is doing. He could have had deportations, which Trump is now going to begin to do. He could have continued to build the wall, which he stopped doing, which now Trump will complete. And more importantly, by the way, than all of these things, even the soldiers at the border, even more important is remain in Mexico. That was the number one tool that the Trump administration used to stem the tide, telling Mexico, these people will stay on your side of the border, and then we'll vet them as they come through. That's what's going on today, right now. The troops aren't as necessary because of that one policy that the Biden administration decided to flip on, okay? This is ridiculous, and now we're showing this is why Biden lost, exactly on this issue.
Yeah, it's stark clear now, isn't it? Now, this is interesting, Army, because conservatism is making a comeback. There are reports that Liberal parents are now the ones actually clashing with their Conservative sons after the election. We know that Trump gained significant ground with the youth vote and won 53% of men aged 18 to 44. Army, why do you think that Trump appeals to Gen Z so much?
Yeah, the truth is I don't know, and nobody really knows, right? This is actually a quirk in demographics. We all thought that the young vote was going to go to Joe Biden. It was trending that way for a very long time. And there seems to be like, we're going to be saved by Gen Z. I know we kept looking at Gen Z and saying, who are you people? But the truth is, Gen Z, particularly Gen Z males, are ones who may, for a long time, keep this demographic alive for the Republican Party. I find it is so delicious to watch parents get upset at their kids about their politics. Look, there's always this debate of nature versus nurture, and I've always said that if you have kids, you know that nature wins, nurture loses. Nature is always the number one issue when it comes to what a kid is like. And those parents who are pushing this democratic liberal dogma on their kids for all these years, he's learned a hard lesson on how it works with life. And yeah, apparently these kids and this kind of boomerang, that was an Australian term I think I just used right there. This boomerang is now happening with Gen Z, and I'm here for it. I love it.
I love it too. It is an Aussie term and you're spot on. And it's so good that the younger generation are now sponges and wanting to learn. Now, speaking of the younger generation, Barron Trump appears to be following in his father Donald Trump's footsteps. He's preparing to launch a luxury real estate venture with two young business partners. I feel like Barron is really the success story out of this election. He helped his father, he got him onto those podcasts like Joe Rogan. But you can see that this is a young entrepreneur. How big of a future do you think he's got?
No, he's a comer, no question about it. I mean, look, frankly, all of Trump's kids are. You want to talk about how somebody can raise children, and you see who your children are a reflection of you. Look at his kids. Look at not just his kids, but who they married also. It's a wonderful family. This is a family who's going to make a difference. I think they're all going to get involved in business and politics, no question about it. I think that it's a reflection on the president, reflection on his ex-wife and his current wife, on how they raise his kids. They're wonderful kids. I've had a chance to meet a number of them. They're great. They're smart. And yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, a big, bright future ahead for Barron. But you're right, the rest of them are just as impressive. Army Horowitz, good to see you. Thanks very much for joining me on the show this evening.
Always a pleasure.